We'll look at it. Maybe I could do that one as an option too, but it seems kind of short. I don't know. So we are live, and welcome to the Doge and Aydin Aftershow number 4 with just the Doge, because Aydin has a birthday that she's going to go and enjoy, and I'm all for it. She is currently in Michigan, which is far away from home, visiting friends. So, yeah. So, happy birthday, Aydin. So, I have here a story from Vice.com has, I guess they have sub websites. One of them is called Waypoint. Waypoint is, I think it's probably their video game website. So get ready for the cringe. Vice has entered the video game realm. Oh, they've been doing it a while. I don't know. I don't follow Vice at all because they're fucking cancer. So have you guys heard of this new game called Agony that came out?
Yep, I've actually played it.
Oh, really? Did you
Yep.
did you buy it?
Yes.
Oh, did you finish it? You say you played it,
Yes.
so I'm. Oh,
Yes,
is
yes,
it
yes, I finished
is it short or?
It's kind of short, maybe 5-6 hours. It's one of those first-person survival horror games.
Oh yeah, and what did you think of it? What would you like if you were to review it? What would you say?
Well, first-person survival horror is not my genre, but I'd say it's a solid 7. It had some good puzzles, and the hell design is really cool. And
What
yeah.
if it's not your genre? Why did you decide you wanted to buy it or play it?
Well, I wanted to see how far they go because this is how they marketed themselves. We'll be really edgy. We'll show stuff that's usually not seen in games. We'll have to censor some of the stuff for a console version. So yeah, this is what kind of attracted me.
Oh yeah, so it was really edgy.
It was okay. It wasn't too edgy, to be honest.
Really?
I've seen. Well, yeah. I mean, if you remember, there was a hack and slash game back in the day, Dante's Inferno. Where you
Oh,
go
I
to
remember
hell.
Dante's Inferno. That one had boobies.
Yeah, and so it's something similar to that. Other than a couple of vagina-looking monsters, there wasn't anything too edgy about it.
Oh, okay. So there are some vagina monsters. That's not really, yeah, it's not really much. I heard
But
because
designs are pretty cool. Yeah.
they are. I saw some reviews. Like I don't know, they were just coming across. Like I just get them in my YouTube as suggested things, and I like watched a couple, and they made it sound like, oh, there were penises stapled to the wall and shit like that. And to me, it sounded like a little bit try hard based on what what they were saying about it. But
Well, yeah. I mean, they do try to make the hellish look. So, but yeah, maybe I missed the penises, but yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it's just body parts. They tried to make it all fire and brimstone and flesh and stuff like this. So
yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing a little bit, like a little gameplay teaser, like a few years ago, and I guess it's like an indie game. So
yeah.
Vice made an article on this, and of course, I figured because it was edgy, it was only a matter of time before the ideologues were going to talk about it. I thought because it was about hell, they would just like leave it alone, but because they tend to be anti-religion but like pro, like if there's a game or a product that triggers Christians, I would suspect that SJW sites like this would be for that, because it's all about who is your enemy and how do you attack them, right? So, but I don't know that Christians gave a shit about this game, so maybe this is why they're attacking it. So here's the title of their article: Agony, a game about dehumanizing women, isn't just bad, it's toxic. It's so right off the bat. I never played this game, so Mr. 303, you're gonna have to help me out here with how accurate this is. Is this game about dehumanizing women?
No, it's about hell. You're in hell and you have to survive.
So it's just hell.
I think I know what might be the problem though.
Well-
basically, the queen. The basic premise is you're one of the tortured souls in hell, and you have to reach the red goddess, which is kind of the queen of hell. So she's kind of the main villain. So this might be what they're finding an issue with.
I presume that the reason why they're saying this is because, you know, as the saying goes, you wake up in hell, women most affected.
Yeah. I skimmed through it when I saw the Patreon link, and it was just, oh, we're in hell. Women have it worse.
Okay, so Patrick Klepek. Oh, I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah, he's an ex-Kotaku writer.
Oh.
To be so shit to be kicked off from Kotaku.
Let's see his other titles. I'm curious. Battletech developer accused of sexual harassment resigns. Okay, Patrick. I see that you have a focus. When a trailer pitches something very different from the game. That's okay. Yoku's Island Express is Metroid plus pinball, and it's so good. Classic games would be more fun if they copied Mega Man's rewind feature. Because you suck at games. Between State of Decay 2 and Days Gone, we can't stop talking zombies. This guy's not saying much. Why does this guy keep getting work? All right. Oh, that's cool. This comic artist made a graphic novel with the Dark Souls playthrough. Wow. That's a great idea. All right. Well, I got something out of it. Thank you, Patrick Klepek. A mixture of what you might find in a horny teenager sketchbook crossed with an angry YouTuber screaming about how feminists have come to destroy their video games. What? What? Okay, I want to see. I'm intrigued. I want to see what he says here. All right.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, it isn't one of those anti-SJW games. I mean, where you purposely, see the triggering, women with large breasts or something like this. It's just about hell. They don't have a political message. That's the strangest part. They do try to be edgy, but that's as far as it goes.
Okay. So because it's not actively pro SJW, it must be anti SJW to them. It's basically what it is, right? It's at the point, like, all this social justice stuff that I've seen around me is at the point now where it's not enough to be indifferent towards social justice causes. You have to actively promote and celebrate them. Otherwise, you must be against them. Like, for example, this is Pride Month, right? Pride Month hasn't been around for very long. Obama started it in his presidency, at least in the United States. Donald Trump did not acknowledge Pride Month by doing anything with the White House with like colored lights or whatever, People assume that he's anti-gay because he didn't celebrate Pride Month. He didn't do anything. He just went about his business. That's a good example of what I'm talking about. You either actively celebrate something or you must be against it. You have to virtue signal to basically meet the bare minimum requirements to be a decent human being.
To be honest, I think that's kind of a missed opportunity. If he celebrated it by, I don't know, turning on the lights or something, wouldn't that make it a bad thing in their eyes? Yeah,
they'd probably say something like, he's contributing to global warming by using electricity that he doesn't have to. I'm serious. They'd say something, or, how dare Trump try to he didn't include the brown and the black colors in his lights. He used the old pride flag. That's like so 2016. So yeah, it doesn't. He can't do anything, right? That's probably why he's not bothering to please people. Besides the fact that he already was the only president that ran on a "I don't give a shit about gay marriage." Go ahead and marry whoever you want to. He was the only president to start off that way, but. Whatever.
Plus, wasn't he the only Republican then that brought the flag to one of the rallies or something?
Yep.
So.
Pissed off Ben Shapiro. Okay, so let's get into this. Content warnings, descriptions, and depictions of extreme violence and sexual assault. It's a trigger warning, but there are bad video games, and then there's agony. In the past, I've argued it's useful to play bad games so you can better appreciate the well-made ones, but not here. It's one thing for a game to be poorly designed, which I assure you Agony is. but it's another to come away from the experience with a sense of disgust, wondering what the people behind the game were thinking. It's not just that agony is an awful, frustrating way to spend a few hours, but how the game over and over reminds you it has an axe to grind with 50% of the population. Okay, if any of this like triggers a game memory that you had, like an experience with agony that you're like, oh yeah, I see what he's referencing there, just jump on in, because I'm not really sure. I feel like there are, okay, so somebody in the YouTube chat said yes, it has demon tits in it. So, but is that violence against women?
Well, I mean, there are kind of two different types of creatures. One is the condemned, the damned, and they're both men and women, so there's gender equality in hell. And the other is the demons. The demons are, there's one female demon, one vagina demon kind of thing. There's tits. One male demon, big strong demon with a penis, and one fire demon, which is, you know, gender neutral or something. And other than that, there's the red goddess, which is the main kind of antagonist. Or
well, at least they acknowledge a third gender.
Yeah, I guess.
The non-binary demons.
And her lieutenants are an army of succubi who occasionally fuck each other. So that's about it.
So they're lesbians. So
yeah.
So he's acknowledging
they have inclusive.
Yeah, they're very inclusive. They got LGBT characters. They got non-binary characters in it. I mean, yeah, they're all demons. Which I guess it implies that all of them went to hell.
I guess the whole idea of maybe women being in hell is bad.
Yeah, they shouldn't have. What do you mean women can't go to hell? They don't sin. It's not their fault. All right. It's impossible to go more than a few minutes without agony reminding you what it thinks about women. Men are tortured and strung up in agony, but it's the women who strut around the world without clothes. What? Who screams?
That's absolutely false. I mean, both the men and the women are without clothes or just have some rags on them. So
yeah.
That's false.
Men are tortured and strung up in agony, but it's the women who strut around the world without clothes, whose screams of pull it out become environmental texture, and who the game constantly specifically goes out of its way to violently degrade.
So if we ignore the, you know, the context and what happens in the actual game, he's saying, well, yeah, men are being tortured, but the women are naked. Yeah,
they're walking around naked. And that was my first thought, is like, so they're allowed to walk around? Like the derp? Her derpy derp? Agony, a game whose pitch is walking through a totally fucked up version of hell, describes itself as a first-person survival horror game. The screenshots are seductive, the actual in-game visuals less so. But it's not hard to see how the game managed to rocket past its jokey $66,666 fundraising target on Kickstarter, eventually nabbing $182,642. Oh, I love that they asked for $666,000 or $66,000. That's great. Hell isn't a new setting for video games. See Doom, Shadows of the Damned, God of War, Bayonetta, etc. Well, in God of War, you go to Hades, and you go to Helheim.
And in Bayonetta, you don't go to hell. So he's talking shit again.
Yeah, not in the first Bayonetta. I don't know about the second one because I never played it. But in the first one, you're killing angels. So I don't know. But outside of Dante's Inferno, it is typically the equivalent of an ice stage, a way to change the look of things. Agony promised a lengthy trip to the underworld, one pulsing with the flesh of sinners, surrounded by grotesque aesthetic riffing on the mind of H.R. Geiger. So he says that the visuals are less seductive. Were the graphics good or good for an indie game or whatever?
They were actually pretty good. I mean, if you've played something like Doom, they're quite similar to that. You do get that hellish look. So the one thing that the game has going for it is the environment. So I quite like it.
Okay. I read in one of the reviews I saw, one of the reviewers said it's just too much. Like, they wish that they changed up the palette because it's like basically black and red for the whole game, or like, you know, shades of. Oh, go ahead.
There are a couple of levels that mix that up, but most likely it's either fiery hell or fleshy hell.
Okay, so that's a pitch that worked for a lot of people, myself included. If I was going to design hell, I don't know, maybe they did that. Maybe this guy's not really explaining it. I would have gone with some H.R. Geiger is good because I like H.R. Geiger's work. It's very creepy. I would have also looked at Hieronymus Bosch. You know who Hieronymus Bosch is? Let me look it up. Okay, hold on. Hieronymus Bosch was painter, a Dutch painter from the 1450s, and he made these really weird paintings. He basically painted for the church, and he would do these paintings of hell that were very large and really weird looking. I'm gonna try and find an image and share it so you guys can see. I like Hieronymus Bosch because he's just so out there. But they were like pictures of various people being tortured in different ways and getting raped by insects and giant skeletons, and just like what his vision, because he was very, very, very religious, and what his vision of what hell looked like was just kind of just weird and out there. And I would have probably done something like that. If you see the stuff I'm trying to share here so you guys can see, I would have tried to go with that. I like the stuff that's inspired by classic art. By the way, speaking of which, I have Dragon's Crown Pro now, so if you guys, if anybody has a PlayStation 4 and we're friends on PlayStation Network, we can play together sometime. I haven't started it up yet. I might do it tonight with my wife after I'm done with the after show. I'm gonna see how she feels once we have dinner, because we haven't really been able to spend a lot of time together, But yes. Yeah, I played Dragon's Crown. I love Dragon's Crown. But she hasn't, so I'm hoping that she'll get into it, maybe play the Amazon. I think that'd be her speed. So this is a bit of Hieronymus Bosch. This is just an aesthetic that I kind of like. If you don't know, look it up. Here, I'll drop some links in the down here in the chat room so you guys can see what it looks like. And it'd be cool if there was a game that had this, because again, the Dragon's Crown was cool because there was a lot of work in there that was inspired by a lot of the work in Dragon's Crown is inspired by real paintings. Like a lot of the character art and stuff is inspired by actual paintings. There's even a bit, I think it's when you're selecting your stage and there's like that tower, it looks like the Tower of Babel. It's the painting of the Tower of Babel. It's the same image, or almost. So
there's so many references in that game, from Conan the Barbarian to Monty Python to pretty much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They have references to Frank Frazetta. And some of the stuff that they got away with. I'm like that nun. I'm that's really something.
Yeah, the nun, the mermaid ass. There was a spirit who is essentially a naked woman. So
yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, the spirit. Okay, so moving on. The pitch, that's a pitch that's worked on for a lot of people, myself included. Despite Hell's prominence in games, it's woefully underexplored. Hell is such a conceptually fascinating idea, especially when you go beyond the pools of blood and start trying to imagine the logistics and politics of such a place. Why would there be politics? Why?
Maybe this is what he imagines. Well, we have to have some SJW politics in Hell, which somehow makes sense, but
there's some demon in there going, the personal is political. Oh my god, politics.
I'm torturing, fuckface.
I mean, it's interesting that SJWs work that way. Like, if I was trying to actually like conceptualize Hell, I would try to move myself as far away from actual human constructs as possible. Politics being one of them. I try to imagine something unthinkable. I really like, speaking of the way that Hell is presented in some media, I like that the examples where they don't show you much. Like, have you ever seen Event Horizon? It's a movie with Lawrence Fishburne. It's a horror movie that takes place on a spaceship. It was I can't remember the name of the director, but he actually went on to make the Resident Evil movies. But he also did Stargate, which the first Stargate movie. But it's about this ship that's haunted because it was the first spaceship they ever installed a gravity drive on, so they can travel long distances very quickly. So by essentially going into another dimension and then coming back out, teleporting. But the scientists that designed it didn't realize what dimension the ship had gone to. And so they don't tell you explicitly because they don't know for sure, but what it appears to be is that the ship goes to hell and comes back and it's changed, like there's a presence on the ship. And it's pretty cool because to let you know that hell is an aspect, but that you never see it. So they do a really good job of sort of like, implanting in your mind this idea of like what it must be like. But they do it very creatively.
Plus, shouldn't hell be kind of representative of chaos? So it shouldn't have any infrastructure or politics or any, any structure at all.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Plus, if you want to go for structure, you could go to Dante's Inferno with all the circles and the kind of the different sections and all stuff like this.
Yeah.
But even then, you don't have politics in there. You don't have kind of a single ruler. You just it's a really bad place that you get sent to. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't politics. I don't know why he would ask that. I think it's like a weird way to sound like you have the big brain. So the politics, yeah. And with Agony wanting to spend its hours taking a deeper dive into the place, I was curious. Clive Barker's The Scarlet Gospels, while a disappointing final chapter for the monster known as Pinhead, spent much of its time exploring the mundane pettiness involved in running hell as an institution. Well, that's because that's stupid. It should be more like In the Mouth of Madness, which is another good example of like an otherworldly place that could be considered hell. These are not the details that Agony is concerned with. It's more interested in coming across as badass without acknowledging how it's accomplishing that or what kind of toxic ideology it's spreading by indulging in the worst kinds of faux edgy art.
Well, so the thing about the game is, I mean, there's a bit of mystery behind it. I mean, you're seemingly a random damned soul, and you start collecting kind of different nodes to get what your background is, to get what the hell is going on in hell. So there's a bit of mystery to it. So just explicitly stating, oh, this is what's happening, is kind of counter to the game, to the whole idea of the game. In the end, you are kind of a special person. You're not just a random soul when you reach the Red Goddess.
Wouldn't like hell be the one place for sure that it should be okay to display like misogyny? Like, wouldn't that be the place where that makes sense?
I would think so.
One would think that, they could be trying to show you what's wrong with people in the world. It could almost be a feminist game. Like if the guys were thinking, well, what kind of people would be in hell? Rapists. Well, then let's put them there. Let's have them raping people. I mean, what? Right? I don't know. It seems to me like it's a good fit. But if you did do that, then people like this would say, "Oh my God, you're exposing me to misogyny." But I'm in hell.
We'll see what his angle is. But I mean, to be honest, the whole game was a bit gynocentric. To be honest, because you're kind of tempted by the succubi, and you're following the orders of the Red Goddess, which is kind of the main manipulator. And maybe I'll do a bit later in the review. I'll spoil it and explain what the plot is all about. But
okay, all right. So let's see. Agony is the kind of game conservative culture warriors will defend, not because it's good, but because it offends people. If someone's upset over the way it depicts women, who cares if it's no fun to play? In today's Trump-fueled victimhood culture, that's basically a win. Huh? Who are you talking about? Trump-fueled victimhood culture. Are you talking about yourself in terms of victimhood culture? Are you having a moment of self-awareness, or are you saying that Trump supporters and culture warriors are professional victims? I'm not sure. It's such a bad fucking video game, too. You spend 95% of agony waiting for poorly designed AI enemies to walk past you so you can sprint to the next area. It's not scary, it's not fun, it's not interesting. The game wants you to sneak around and be careful. There's even a button to hold your breath, but the AI has no idea what's going on most of the time, so you're better off just holding down the run button, knowing they're likely to get caught on some geometry. In another dimension where agony is worth playing, the maze-like design reflects the patchwork nature of hell itself, but here it's agony's way of padding how much time you spend with the game. If you get lost, you won't realize that there's really only 90 minutes of stuff to do, and it would have been better off without any game elements entirely. Wow.
Typical thing for a game journalist to say. What's this game in my game?
Hey, you guys got game all in my game. You guys got too much game in my narrative experience. What happened to video games that they've basically just been about story? Ugh.
And I mean, it's a survival horror. I mean, avoiding enemies is part of the thing. And he didn't mention the other game mechanics, where you can, after a couple of levels, you can basically possess demons, and you can use them to kind of navigate different obstacles, or kill other demons.
Oh yeah. I saw that in a review. Like if you die, your spirit can possess another body, right? But you only have a certain amount of time. But that's that's basically the possession thing is a mechanic of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue on. Review. Oh, this is a review for the game, I think. Okay, well, whatever. Oh, release date, review summary, an ugly power fantasy where hell and demons mask its ideological truth, domination of women. Number of vagina of apples that you must collect, too many. Too many. Annoyed, but wanting, go ahead.
This is how you get skill points, by the way. They're these collectibles, which are the apple of Eve, which is why they're vagina apples. And you get skill points from obtaining them.
I gotta look one of these up. I gotta see what it looks like. Apple of Eve.
Well, it's just apple or something. You just. I'm not sure.
Apple. All right. Apple in agony. I just want to see what it looks like.
It's nothing too spectacular.
I'm curious about the graphics. Oh, it's not showing me anything. I just see pictures of fucking apples and Steve Jobs. That's not helping. Oh,
it could be fruit of something or other. It could not be maybe.
It might not be an apple. Let me see.
You can post agony fruit or something.
Fruit.
Actually may have, but it would take a while to get a screenshot of it.
It's fine. I was just curious. I think I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's totally a vag. Okay.
It's an apple with a vagina on it. So.
Yeah. I was just wondering how much of it is apple and how much of it is vagina. So I was curious about the ratio. But, all right, so.
One thing I wanted to mention in the review summary, the domination of women bit is quite hilarious due to plot reasons, because essentially you're manipulated by the Red Goddess to do her bidding. So it's kind of the other way around. So you don't really dominate women, dominate you.
Yeah. That's what I thought, because I knew that there was a Red Goddess in it, and I also, because YouTube fucking spoils things without trying, I saw like some video I never clicked on because I was looking at a review for Agony. There was some suggested video of like the final boss, which was Satan. So I figured that the Red Goddess and Satan, like the Satan is the final boss, so the Red Goddess is probably not, So there was a different thing involved. So, okay. Annoyed but wanting to see the whole game through, I eventually resorted to putting a YouTube walkthrough of the game on another monitor to ensure I wouldn't get stuck again. Typical game journos does not play the fucking game. Was this the Dark Souls of survival horror stealth games?
Absolutely.
If nothing else, Agony has its visuals, atmosphere, and shock value. It's what sold the game and remains the core strength. There are times where you cannot help but stop, look around, and admire the repulsive beauty. There is an art to disgust, a way of manipulating our unspoken fears of the human body. But it becomes a real problem when you look past the goo seeping out of the walls and begin piecing together the story that this version of hell tells. Slut, whore, I can nearly feel her red cunt. These are just a handful of gender-targeted comments found in everything from characters to diary entries. It's the game doing world building. Your character doesn't speak in Agony outside of grunting as they die for the 57th time. Wow. Did you die that many times? Or does this guy just suck at the game?
He really sucks at the game. Well, he's a game journal, you know.
Yeah, right.
Gamers.
The story Agony is trying to tell is muddled and confusing, but in short, you're a bad person who did bad things on Earth, and when you died, you arrived in Hell. But you quickly learn that there might be a way out if one of Hell's leaders, the Red Goddess, grants passage. Agony's the Red Goddess is a succubus, a demon known for seducing men, and she lords around the place naked. I mean, the Red Goddess should be allowed to do as she pleases, so strut in your birthday suit all you want. I don't want to slut shame the Red Goddess or anything, but Agony wields its imagery with the subtlety of a brick. Yeah, I think that was the point, though. It's a mixture of what you might find in a horny teenager sketchbook crossed with an angry YouTuber screaming about how feminists have come to destroy their video games. There's a little bit of that struck a personal chord, it seems.
I don't get it though. I mean, she sure is naked, but so what? I mean, how is that anti-feminist? Aren't they all about freeing the nipple or something?
Yeah, I thought that women should be allowed to walk around naked. I thought we were trying to free the nipple. Agony is hardly the first game to feature sexualized objects. Remember old Praise doors? I don't know. Let's see. Hopefully it's. Oh, that could be a butthole. No, it's probably not a butthole. Yeah, okay. I remember the boss. There was a boss on Dead Space. It was like this long corridor in this like big zero gravity room that you could run around in circles, and it looked like a big vagina at the end of a tunnel. It was like a birth canal or something with a vagina at the end, but that was in Dead Space. So, sure, vaginal imagery. I mean, I think that we tend to, when we design anything, we usually think of. There's some Freudian shit that kind of gets into it to a degree. So I don't think that it's really that weird.
And isn't it a bit weird then that when feminists do, vagina art or vagina necklaces and shit like this, it's progressive. But when a game does it with fucking demons, oh, it's misogyny.
Of course. You'll find lots of lesbian sex, moaning women, bare breasts, and vagina imagery in Agony's Afterlife. All of it sounds like a feminist wonderland to me. Despite Hell's vast resources for constructing pits of lava and caves of pain, there are precious few dicks. Hell's vast resources. What the hell are you thinking about?
There are not enough dicks for the writer.
He wants more dicks in his game. Each time I found a man, human, demon, in between, I would look to see if the game was applying the same aggressive exploitation to their sexual parts, and it was never the case. You can find a dick, but it's just that, a penis, part of the naked body. Some demons even get a loincloth to cover up their presumably enormous dicks, with only underscores the asymmetric gender dynamics at play. It's intentional. He wanted more dicks and he didn't get any. Must be misogyny. But you were saying that there are dicks, though. I guess.
Well, I mean, the condemned people, the people that you can possess, they're both men and women, so you can possess both men and women. and women sometimes are naked, have their breasts out, but you cannot see their vaginas, but you can see the penises of people. And then there are the two demons, you know, the one in the picture, the male demon, who is kind of big and muscly and bulky, and the vagina demons, whose head is kind of looks like a vagina.
Oh yeah, I know the ones. They have like teeth in there, and it's like split down the middle. Yeah, they're pretty edgy looking.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there is gender equality in hell, to be honest.
Sounds good to me.
More dicks?
Lion the Narc says, what should I consider with getting a PS4? You mean like what games do you want to get with, or should you get with PS4? So, I mean, I want to tell you this. I basically only game on PS4, and the main reason why is because my wife also has a PS4, and I want to play games with her. And the other reason is because this computer is one that I only want to use for work, so I try not to get games. I do have one. I have Cuphead on my PC, because you can't get it on PlayStation. So, I mainly game on PS4 for that reason. That's why I'm a console peasant, because I want to play with my peasant wife, and we can't do it on PC. So, what games? I'm going to go ahead and recommend some games then. Let me think. I would recommend exclusives first of all, because there's no point in, like, if you do game on PC or something, I'm not going to suggest something that you could just get on a console or a platform that you prefer. So I would say Uncharted 4. If you don't have the other ones, they have like the they do have those as remasters. Definitely get Bloodborne. Nathan Drake collection. Yeah, definitely get Bloodborne. Definitely get Dark Souls 3. Get Dark Souls Remastered unless you have it already. If you don't, then that'd be a good place to get it. I understand that there is you can get the original Dark Souls on PC, and there's like a mod that makes it look just as good. So you don't have to get the remastered, but that's what I would. That's the stuff that I like a lot. What else is on there? Well, Dragon's Crown Pro. I think that's definitely only available on PlayStation. Odin
Sphere, which is
Odin Sphere. Yeah, Vanillaware. Yeah, Odin Sphere. There's.
I can recommend Gravity Rush 1 and 2.
I have Gravity Rush. Yeah, that's a good one. There's quite a bit. There's a lot of the exclusives are good. God of War, which I've been doing streams of. Dad of War, that's a good game. Shadow of the Colossus. I liked The Last Guardian. That was good. And also, there was just it was just another one that I just had on my mind that was also an exclusive. That I just. Well, I don't know. I didn't play that one. Little Big Planet is cool. I like Little Big Planet 3. But, The Last of Us, there's a remastered version of that. That's good. And there's a new Last of Us coming out. There are definitely more titles, but that's just what's on my mind. I got a bunch on there. That's just some that I suggested. I have a PS3 currently, not sure what to do with it. Well, I also have a PS3. I still play it sometimes. And I like it. There's a lot of good exclusives on there too. Uncharted games, the God of War games. I could go on. So, anyway, we're talking about demon dicks. Okay. In Agony, it's not enough to watch someone smash a bunch of bleeding and screaming fetuses over and over. You need to find them strung up by their umbilical cords too. Right? Okay. So, yes, it's edgy. We knew that. And this is just the stuff they managed to ship with the game. Hey, here's something interesting. So it's not enough to watch someone smash a bunch of bleeding and screaming fetuses. You have to see them strung up by their umbilical cords. So are they saying that aborted fetuses and miscarriages all go to hell? Is this something that Planned Parenthood has to make peace with now? Is this like the consequences of their actions? Maybe this is a Christian game.
I'm pretty sure it's a bit of Christian thing, because all babies who do not get christened are going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the rules.
But only if they die as babies.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, One could assume that most of the adults in hell in this game were also not christened as babies. They just grew up to be adults before they died. But these are effectively fetuses. That means that they were killed in the womb. Right? Monster Hunter World, yeah. That's a good one too. But man, if anything though, like if I had to recommend like, I don't know, 3 games, just 3, like the most best games on the console, I'm gonna say Bloodborne for a start, because that's a fucking masterpiece. Bloodborne is a really good game. What about you, Mr. 303? Do you have like a single recommendation? Like a must-have?
I really like the Gravity Rush games. I mean, that they're really unique. They're kind of light-hearted, and they're, you know, pretty unique with the whole gravity falling mechanic. You don't feel too overpowered, and you know, it's really good. The story is kind of a bit Japanese what the fuckery, but
yeah,
you know, it's really nice. I really
yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff. Yeah,
and Vanillaware is, you know, always good.
Yeah, anything they make is good. Oh, Valkyria Chronicles. There's a new one of those coming out, and that's a good game. All right, so where was I? Somebody said, Land the Nurk says, what? I thought that a fetus was just a clump of cells. Well, it is not after they smash it. And also, all of hell appears to be a clump of cells in this game. So all of hell is one giant fetus. And this is just the stuff that they managed to ship with the game. Even if you try to grant the developers the benefit of the doubt, maybe they didn't realize how aggressive this stuff was coming across. Wow, this guy needs his breathalyzer, or his little, you know, for asthma attacks or whatever. The cut content only underscores the specific message. Ahead of release, the conversation around Agony had nothing to do with how it plays. It was whether the game would ship with a fabled adults-only rating on consoles. The console versions were censored, but to restore the original version, the PC version, restore the original vision, the PC version would get an unrated patch. Unrated patches are nothing new. Visual novels with explicit sex scenes often resort to this in order to release their games on platforms like Steam. Valve has since clamped down on this. But they unclamped down today or yesterday. So that didn't happen. Didn't they?
Well, they did. They made a statement in the vein of, all games belong on Steam, but from what I've heard, they still haven't responded to all the visual novel developers who have these ecchi games. So basically, they're still in limbo on that information. Do they need to censor their games, or do they just bring them back? Because they did issue warnings: if you don't censor your games, they will be removed. So it's a bit of a PR statement. Because right after this happened, all of these games went to other platforms that are more, you know, hentai games and stuff like this.
Right. Okay.
So this could be a business move.
All right. Due to legal issues, the unrated patch was dropped, but the developers detailed its contents, including brutal sex scenes, lesbian and gay sex scenes, and genital physics. Okay. You all censored a hell of a lot more than just a few seconds in the game, wrote one backer on Kickstarter, illuminating the target audience. Purple blood, succubus kissing missing nipples in areas, bodies with cloth covering them. You've lied and been a shit developer who goes dark with the real questions and hide behind legal agreements, preventing us from talking more. The developer declined the content, citing the legal agreements, but released a video with the content that didn't make it in the game. Content warning, violence against children, and extreme sexual imagery. Sorry, this video does not exist, so we can't even look at it. On one hand, it's hard not to laugh at the game's butt physics. On the other hand, the next piece of cut content is called The Raping of Succubus, in which what happens is exactly as described, with one of the game's demons held down and sexually assaulted by the players. The game's camera later pans down, as if emulating a Pornhub video for an intimate view. The rest of the video isn't worth describing, but it throws out any notion Agony wasn't crafted as a power fantasy in which the notion of hell and demons are sheer window dressing, a way to mask what the game is actually about, forced domination and submission of women, of which he has not actually given us any evidence of yet. Though it's not customary to do so, as art should speak for itself, I did contact the game's developers wondering if they would respond to any of my observations about the game. Agony's publicist told me my inquiry was passed on, but I have yet to hear back. It's worth asking whether Agony falls under the same category as Hatred, the 2015 top-down action game that glamorized mass shootings. Jesus. It wasn't even that popular. By writing about it, aren't you just giving it the craved attention? Hatred was the heir apparent to Postal, a game whose trolling nature now seems like an antiquated version of today's trolling the libs. But whereas Hatred wore its subversive nature on its sleeve, reveling in every new headline or comment calling for its banning, Agony is even more insidious. It presents one thing, but exists as another. Sounds like postmodernism. Agony masquerades as a hardcore trip to hell for real gamers. The game's Steam page makes no mention of almost anything I've mentioned here. Instead, it focuses on the game's story of a tormented soul within the depths of hell without any memories about your past. How you'll be able to use a special ability to possess demons, the kinds of hostile environment players will have to survive in. He puts it all in quotes like it's not really in the game. And the game's inclusion of both a story mode and an open challenge system that randomly generates levels complete with high scores. Have you done any of those things? Open challenge system?
There's kind of a game mode where it randomly generates a hell dungeon and you have to get out. But you know, it's apart from the story. Mm-hmm. So you have the story levels which are designed, and then you have the random labyrinth thing, which, you know, it's there for extra challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing he doesn't mention, which my guess is because he didn't complete the game, is that once you complete the game, you get to play as a succubus, so you get to play as a female character, and she's extremely powerful. Basically, where as your player character, you have to avoid the demons. She can actually kill them, all of them.
Oh.
So that's the power fantasy mode, essentially.
So the power fantasy mode comes when you play as
the female.
The female. Yeah, I don't think this guy finished the game. Or he's leaving it out. All right. Oh, no, he actually goes into it here. Perhaps the scariest interpretation is the developers don't think any of this is a problem. After 30 minutes of playing Agony, I'd had enough. The only reason I clocked more than 5 hours was to reject any notion I hadn't given the game its due. I gave Agony the full benefit of the doubt. More than it deserved. It's easy to see how a disingenuous person might argue, hey, stop looking for politics and everything, but Agony is stuffed with political messages. It has a lot to say about women, sexual violence, and the power dynamics of sex between genders, and how society often views gay sex through the lens of straight men. Rather than coding its ideology in metaphor or subtext, it's danced right in front of you. Agony knows exactly what it's saying. Fortunately, you don't have to listen. This guy sounds like he's just wrong.
Well, I mean, there's not that much sex in the game. I mean, there's only the few succubi fucking each other, and there's the one rape scene that's excluded from the game. My guess is, guess why? Because it's so acceptable in society, I guess. Other than that, it's just they're naked people in hell. That's pretty much it. I don't know what he talks about, the whole gay sex thing and sexual violence and stuff like this. Most of the time, you're manipulated by the red god. You know, in the end, she uses you to accomplish her own goals. That's about it.
Well, there's a thing here that says if you have thoughts, you can swing by the Waypoints forum. So there's no comment section. So you have to go to the forums, and when you go to the forums for Waypoint, they have rules. Rule number 1, bigotry, including but not limited to discrimination or hate speech based on race, gender, sexuality, religion, disability, or any other attacks on one's personhood will not be tolerated. Don't put marginalized people in the position of having to explain or defend their marginalization. It's not their job to educate you. Do your own research is number one.
So a question: how can you talk about presumably bigoted game with all the bigotry in it without mentioning it?
I like how rule number one is literally like every stereotypical response from every social justice lefty ever. Just like the first rule, don't be a bigot, by asking people to defend their positions. I'm not gonna read everything else. That's enough. I've learned that there is basically no discussion on this game going on in here anywhere, because that will result in bannings and kicks. Oh my god. Well, there you go, guys. I wanted to read about it, but I couldn't. Oh, let me share this with you guys. Aydin gave this to me or turned me onto it. You might find it funny. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in here. Boop. So you guys can check it out. So yeah, it was good. Thanks for coming on and doing the after show. I think I've gone for 45 minutes. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and get us out of here. Thanks for coming on the after show. This was very enlightening. Thank you, Vice.com. I can't believe that anyone ever watched you. I know my wife used to watch Vice. She used to like Vice, but she has since changed her mind on that. Her position has changed. So thanks for coming on the after show. Thanks for hanging out and looking at this cringy ass article. I'll talk to you guys